And one thing that's really changed the business, I think, say over the last 5 years, different than it was in the early 90s, was in 15 years ago, most employers self-insured. They broke away from Aetna and Prudential back then and United, and because the cost of doing business was too high to pay the middleman for the administrative part, so they figured if they could find a stop-loss carrier to cover the catastrophic part, then they're better off saving that slice that went to the payer, and they did. And so most employers began self-insuring, and so that begot a great business for the benefit planning companies to help structure, design plans. But what happened in the later 90s and now in the early 2000s, there was movement away from self-insured because the indemnity plans like the Aetnas and Uniteds and Cignas moved back the other way and began offering what they call ASO plans, which they became hybrid self-insured companies by offering those same services to employers who really weren't equipped to self-insure. They had to have advisors services only. So they began looking like a TPA, a third-party administrator, pay and process, and you didn't have the big overhead issues that you would deal with a straight-up indemnity contract with, say, Aetna or others, Cigna or United. So now they've moved away from that, and I think that's kind of impacted the business too. Yeah, the silent PPO was really it really put a black eye on the business, and the silent PPO was promulgated by a few companies I won't name. They would negotiate aggressively with hospitals and physicians, and again, look at it from the hospital and physician perspective, why they want to get involved. They're attracted to PPOs because they're trying to take the same piece of pie, or same pie out there of members who in a marketplace of demographics, and they're just hoping to get a bigger share of it. And that's really what motivates them. So if a PPO goes to a physician and says, or a hospital and says, if you sign up with us, we're going to direct our patients to you, you'll get more business, it's worth taking a discount because you'll get more business, and the net is it's net accretive to you by doing that. And so they would sign up, and then what would happen is that PPO would then sell their network access to another PPO, and direction was totally out of the picture. And so it was just access. And so one removed, the company one removed, now had access to that network and could tell their employees, well, I have Dr. Jones in a network, and I have ABC Hospital in a network, and the employee just goes there just because, for no reason at all. There's no incentive. That just happens to be out of convenience. Totally defeats the reason the hospital and physician offered their discount. They would have landed there anyway, and so they basically gave that up for nothing. And that's why it's silent, because there's no communication to the employee. That's the silent aspect of it, and that really annoyed the hospital and physician, because they were getting basically the same patients at a discount, and there was nothing in it for them. And many contracts today outlaw the use of the PPO as a silent one. It has to be directly. They can't lay off their network to somebody else. And but they had a good tenure.
Anyway.
I think they still do it anyway. It's hard to police, basically, and so they've had at least a 10-year run of that.